All right, so I saw Megalopolis this weekend, and I just wanna talk about it. Ever since I saw it, it has been on my mind. I cannot think about anything else except for Megalopolis, and that is too much Megalopolis for anyone to handle. I've been reading so much about it, been thinking about it on my own, and just been like replaying the scenes over and over in my head. I'm still not sure how I feel about it, but overall, I think it's interesting. I need to think about it, and really that's what's important about a movie, to be interesting, because I have seen so many movies in the theater lately that I've just not been really interested in on a deeper level, but Megalopolis evades me. It fascinates me. I need to continue to study it. I guess that's what I'm going to do here. This is my outlet for it. I'm sorry, but you're a part of this now. Can't avoid it. But I do want to approach Megalopolis in a very specific way, because I want to avoid talking about it on the conventional surface level I have often seen, where people are just naming a thing that is ridiculous and saying that it's bad. The editing was bad. Oh yeah, this scene was really silly and I laughed at it. That was bad. Been seeing a whole lot of that for this movie in specific, and I think that's a shame. Even if you think it's a bad movie, I think that you should engage with it on a deeper level in some way. So I'm going to attempt to do that here. And it's a good opportunity to look at a movie through a few different lenses, through different perspectives about what art can and should be. Like, okay, from the dominant perspective of the audience, for what most people are looking into the movie for, most people are looking into for any kind of movie, really, is a form of entertainment and a coherent plot that is driven forward beat by beat, where each scene contributes overall to what the quote-unquote story is. And they want to see characters that learn and grow, and they want to see resolution to the events that are brought up from the very beginning. And Megalopolis does not do that. Megalopolis will just throw out some strange, unexplained event and completely forget about it just a few minutes later. And I kind of love that. Well, I don't love it. I find it interesting. I'm going to say interesting a whole lot while I talk about Megalopolis, because there's really nothing else to do to describe it. The movie starts conventionally enough with Adam Driver as this architect, builder, whatever, trying to build his utopia, and it really sticks to that for the entire movie. It meanders a little bit, but it sticks to that central premise. The beginning is starting with him proposing the idea and trying to get it out there, getting the groundwork laid out, and it will eventually end with the utopia being built and everything. So that through line is just continuing strong. There's something there. There's something that audiences attach themselves to about what they think the narrative is and should be. It's probably what Coppola also envisioned for the movie. Okay, I'm not getting into author intent right now. Going straight to the audience. Only the audience. Okay. So, the audience for this movie, the people that are actually seeing it, they fucking hate, or, okay. I would say the majority, not the vast majority, a good majority of the audience that I have seen fucking hates this movie. It is one of the worst movies from their perspective that they have ever seen. And another half, not another half, maybe 30-40% really like the movie. It's very polarizing. And nobody seems to have a good grasp on what they like. They don't have a very deep grasp over what they like or do not like about it. They have a grasp. They'll say, oh, if I don't like the movie, the editing was bad. The acting was bad. It was absolutely ridiculous, and it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Whereas the proponents are loving the surrealism. They're finally getting an expressionistic film in the theaters with a big budget and everything. We're getting the unfiltered vision of Coppola, but not a ton of engagement of themes or the structure or the effects it's producing. It's just just that kind of stuff, you know? Mainly taking it in relation to more conventional films, where either the adherence or lack thereof to a conventional film is seen as bad to some, while others like that it's doing something different. And I think that a lot of those perspectives are very understandable, and I largely agree with both. Like, okay, the editing from any normal objective standpoint is terrible. The editing is so bad. Okay, there is a lot of obvious ADR. You get some L cut where there's a conversation happening, and then the conversation will just continue to go, or they're talking about something vague or whatever, and then the visuals will change. It'll change to a completely different scene, but the conversation will continue with one line of dialogue that is kind of actually explaining what is happening. That clearly seems like something added in after test screenings or something, or nobody understood what was happening in the scene, and then they added in just an extra line or two to somewhat clarify what was happening. But it's obvious, and it doesn't do a very good job at all. And I can't tell if Coppola was like, all right, we're shifting to author intent here. I think that he was making a conventional narrative by himself. I haven't seen any more surreal films like this from him. He's very obviously like trying to have surreal elements in the film. There are dream sequences, and there are abstract, like there are statues that are moving and that are not addressed within the narrative as being like some sci-fi creation or anything. There are a lot of moments that do not make sense on any literal level, that can only really be understood as a surreal event that is not meant to be understood on a literal level. Okay, so there's a lot of those, but there are also dialogue scenes, normal conversations that are expressed in a very exaggerated fashion, which I also think is intentional, but they are also very confusing. There are philosophical references throughout, off the top of my head, or classical references off the top of my head. There are like Pygmalion. There's lots of references to Rome. Can't remember anymore, but there are many times throughout the film where a character will just randomly go into some classical literature or philosophy that just doesn't make any sense within the context of what they are doing. Okay, it makes sense within the context of what they are doing, but they do not feel like they are adding to the scene in a way that is intellectually rigorous, and the references are not adding any depth to the scene in question. Like, okay, so there's at the very beginning, Adam Driver is referencing Hamlet. He does the whole to be or not to be speech. And this is in the context of the creation and the destruction of the old buildings to create the new. The to be or not to be speech is about embracing life instead of death. And death would be continuing on with the old buildings without any change, whereas accepting life and affirming it would mean building something new and just creating a destruction of the old. And that's the parallel that's being made there. But that's not really how that works in Hamlet. That's not how what the to be or not to be speech is really about. And it just doesn't really make sense in that context. And that's true of basically any time a classical reference is being made in this movie. You could think of a better one from anywhere. Like, it's the classical references are being made on a very surface level because we put the classics up on a pedestal in a way that we don't for more modern things for whatever reason. And that proximity to the classics is supposed to be lending these, from my understanding of Coppola's intention, to really raise the grandness of what is happening, to make this a story of epic proportions, where people are making references to the classics in order to bring out the greatness and make that greatness a connection between the two. But it just doesn't work. It is so funny to see these guys making these references in a way that no normal person would. And I'm saying that, and it sounds terrible. And I think that Coppola's intention is not working here, but also I kind of love it. It's showing how ridiculous this proximity is, and it is just so funny to see someone who is described as a womanizer making that connection through Pygmalion of all things, and like, just say he's a womanizer. You don't need to bring up Pygmalion. That analogy isn't doing very much. It doesn't mean much. You're just saying Pygmalion because you can. And it just, I laughed so many times in the theater whenever some reference was being made. Oh my god. Okay. The rest of the author's intent, okay? I think that Coppola is trying to make a statement about, okay, the start is outright saying that is making a connection between Rome and the United States. Oh my god. There's so much happening in this movie. Making a connection between Rome and the United States, and saying that Rome fell because people didn't believe in it. That is what the movie is starting with. Ignoring any historical validity to that statement. That is what the movie is continuing to say about America, that America is falling because people are not believing in it, and they need to believe in a future. And Adam Driver's character is the hero of this story. A very conventional hero where he has a vision for the city of New Rome or New York, or I have no idea what the fuck this place is supposed to be. It all meshes together, which again, I find fascinating, and I kind of like. There is no place in this movie besides city, and he wants the city to become a utopia, tear it all down, build something new. He has a vision for the future while everyone else is stuck in the past. And I think Coppola is making that association between Rome and America just because that's an aesthetic that seems pretty rad to him. Okay, and there's another thing. Adam Driver has the ability to stop time. And this never comes up in any plot-related fashion. These are not surreal sequences, but they are supernatural events that are happening within a natural scene that is supposed to bring that brings a disconnect between what is happening literally and how we understand the world as it is. And to the general audience, and what I've seen, people dislike that the time stopping mechanic is in no way related to the plot at all. It doesn't really matter to the character. This isn't really brought up in any meaningful way. It's not doing a fucking JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fight scene with his time stopping stuff. And I understand where they're coming from for this. And I do think that on some level they are correct in that understanding. But I also think that is not the intention of those scenes. And if you're laughing at the movie and saying it is bad because it is a director's failed intention I do not think that is accurate. I think that these scenes in the frozen time were Coppola's way of looking at Driver's character and continue to think of him as a hero. And they are images that show that he has a vision of the world that no one else has seen. Adam Driver has agency within these scenes. He's the only one who can stop it, with some caveats later or whatever. But at the very beginning, he's the only one who can stop it. He's the one who controls the world, which works on both a metaphorical and on a literal and affective level. You can see that we are understanding Driver to be in control of what the world looks like, and that he has an eye for what that world looks like, and he has control over it. Okay. And this control is also embedded in time. He is creating something eternal, something that is everlasting. And this is also true for Megalon, the sci-fi whatever material, unobtainium, who cares, Megalon. His utopia is based in Megalon, which seems to do anything and turn people invisible with cameras or whatever. It has infinite energy. It is indestructible and will last forever. It is eternal and it is all-encompassing. It can do whatever you want from a utopian lens. Okay. And if we are interpreting Driver as the hero in this, as I think that Coppola is trying to say, then this is all working together to envision this guy as a guy who has a vision for the future, and that we should believe in it. We should believe in the eternal values of what Adam Driver's character is creating. Believe in his creation, and no matter what trouble it causes, you should continue to believe in it. Okay. People have made this into a metaphor for Coppola, right? That Coppola is a filmmaker. He has a vision for the future, and a lot of people see him as a kind of shitty guy. Lots of allegations are out there. And I think that vision is that understanding of Coppola as a avatar for Adam Driver's character is not unfounded. It is not untrue. I think there is a lot of merit to that reading. But I also think that the way the audience is interpreting this is thinking that Adam Driver is kind of a shitty guy, that Coppola is kind of a shitty guy. I can't imagine. I imagine a lot of people are going to go into this movie and thinking that Driver is a hero the same way that I think Coppola is. But I think a lot of people, from a normal perspective of someone who is not rich, who... Okay. I have to keep on meandering so much when I'm talking about this movie. Okay, so there are also a bunch of protesters who are upset with Adam Driver's vision for the city because he is destroying their houses. And I think that their anger is understandable and clear. I think Coppola wants us to think about these characters as morons who do not see the future, because he doesn't. The protesters, they don't have an ideology, which is fine from an artistic standpoint, but they also, the film is not expressing the idea of these protesters losing their houses as being a legitimate grievance. There is nothing that would communicate that to a normal audience. But that connection between the audience and the idea of losing their house is so strong that there is a major disconnect from a class perspective between the poor, normal people that lost their housing and the, for lack of a better word, tech bro who has a vision for the future that is okay with getting rid of all of that. And that's what a film director, to some extent, I don't want to say has to do, but that is the norm for film directors to build their vision, and they have, and in order to enact that vision, will sometimes come into conflicts where they must come on top. That's a very charitable way for me to interpret that. Oh my god. And I understand that well. I think I understand Coppola's intention, but because of the dialogue and the ridiculousness of it and the way that the characters are expressing this, it is difficult to take Driver seriously, as any of the characters seriously. And again, that is intentional to some extent, but I think that we are supposed to understand these characters as, while they have these eccentricities, they continue to have a vision for the future, and that we should in some way respect them in a way that we should not for the protesters that are in the way of that vision. But it is so funny that I cannot take it seriously, and it paints this portrait of an absolutely ridiculous man who has no idea what he's doing. Even if there is nothing, the text is difficult to parse in a way where that is understood as the intention. And again, I'm being very careful with my language here, because what I want to say, I'm not gonna say it's bad. I want to have a conversation about how bad it is. Trying to avoid it. I want to talk about how ridiculous it is, how much I laughed at this movie. I laughed at this movie so much. I am laughing at nearly every scene. I'm laughing at the editing. I am laughing at the dialogue. I am laughing at the performances, at the situations. And again, I think a lot of that is intentional. There is a lot of intentional jokes in this movie. The one I have seen the most discussion of, and probably my favorite joke in the entire movie, is one of the bankers. He's in bed and he's got a tent over his crotch, and he says, "Look at this boner I've got." And then he takes out, he removes his blanket, and instead of a penis, you see a crossbow, and he uses it to shoot another character. Trying not to spoil this in the most... Okay, he shoots one character in a very dramatic fashion, where you might see it in a regular conventional film, in a drama, where a character is being shot, and it's like, oh, falls over. You see the entire body as the character dies, zooms out, you see blood all over, and then he also shoots another guy in the butt twice. And it's this ridiculous slapstick notion where he's like, "Oh my god, I'm being shot in the butt. Oh no, oh boy," right after this very dramatic shooting. And he doesn't die. He just has this ridiculous being shot in the ass, and oh god, I gotta take this arrow out of my ass. And that conflict between the dramatic and the comedic, and how they come up to each other in a very rapid fashion without any regard to tone shift, is fascinating. It is so much fun. It is something that you only see in so bad it's good movies, or what people call I like a lot of so bad it's good movies in an unironic fashion. And I kind of get that vibe from this movie, but I'm not sure. I don't know how to feel about it still. I kind of like it. I like it in a lot of ways. There are a lot of ways I like this movie, but there are a lot of ways where like this movie, people losing their houses. That is, I sympathize with them, and not the visionary. Uh, okay, while I'm at it, I'm going to continue to talk about scenes which I love. There's a musical sequence. The song is fantastic. Or okay, I have no ear for music. I really liked the song. Um, music is not a medium I understand on any deep level, but I liked the song. I liked the singing. And there's this character who is supposed to be a very young pop star singing the song in front of a wide audience. Okay, okay. And one of the characters is sabotaging this very conventional Super Bowl-esque song performance. And this performance is beautiful. There's a lot of CGI, but I think it is beautiful. And it is interrupted by another character showing that pop star having sex with Adam Driver's character. And oh wait a second. Oh my god. Okay. So the context of this pop star is that she is a 16-year-old girl, a very young child, and she's doing a song about her virginity, that she is a virgin. And oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. She's a virgin, and she's pledging, the song is about her pledging her virginity to the world, that she's going to continue to be a virgin. And this is a fundraiser or whatever, doesn't matter what the fundraiser is for. I think it's part of the utopia. I don't know, I don't care. And everyone is pledging lots of money. I think it goes up to $100 million for her to continue to keep her virginity, to pledge her virginity. And oh my god, oh my god. I think Coppola is allegedly a big old pervert. Uh, and I think that the satire in this scene is supposed to show that all these rich Americans, they're all sick, sex crazed people, but they also want this woman to be a pure virgin. Isn't that sick? Whereas the truth is, the truth is that this woman is just as perverted as the rest of them. And in the movie, a character shows the truth that this woman had sex with Adam Driver's character, and she's not a child. She's 23, and she loves sex just like the rest of us. Oh, and this is a big, big revelation. Like, all these, all these perverts are realizing that there is no virginity, and they're chasing a nightmare, chasing this dream of women being virginal and everything. Oh my god. And I cannot help but think about Coppola in relation to this scene, and it's like everyone is just as sick and disgusting as each other, and we need to recognize the truth of this. And this is a false virginity that the nation is believing in. Oh my god. Okay. Now's an opportunity to talk about misogyny and gender. Okay. I think I think I've talked enough about that scene and its relation to um misogyny in film. I think moving on. Okay, so Aubrey Plaza's character, wow, Platinum, the best fucking name. This is a this is a video game ass name. This is Travis Touchdown. This is the Travis Touchdown name. Wild Platinum. Love it. What a name. Okay, okay. She is a very sexual figure throughout the movie. She and charitable reading. Charitable reading. She is a very sexual reading, and the way she is being sexually portrayed is changing throughout time. From the objective standpoint. From the subjective standpoint, she's being filmed by a camera a lot of times, so we see a lot of just regular camera interview style things with her, where she's like, you know, conventional interview stuff. From the objective point of view, when there isn't supposed to be a camera on her in the universe, at first we see her in a very classical way, in the form of a statue that you might see as a Roman statue, where it's like, oh look, I'm very, very beautiful. I'm in this robe, and I'm posing in a beautiful fashion. And then immediately after, she poses on the bed. In another classical painting way, whereas, oh, I'm this beautiful woman laying down on this couch, looking serene and relaxed and everything. That is, and then it will continue to evolve throughout the movie, where women are then portrayed in like in the pop star manner, where she is like serene, and music video era stuff. And then you'll see Star Platinum in a more in a softcore pornographic fashion, which will ramp up as the film goes on. It is like an evolution of sex and sexuality throughout the movie is my charitable read of what Coppola is doing here. Okay. But also this just women must be understood as sexual beings primarily by the camera, where the men are not. And that is, we can make a very, very conventional male gaze conversation about that, okay? So the women are being portrayed in sexual fashion, that is supposed to be encouraging male gaze. Yeah, if we're going from that perspective, which I think is insufficient to what is actually happening here, but we can go about that perspective, and I think that is a very legitimate one to make. Okay. And I think that both of those combined make for very strange, campy depiction of sexuality that I cannot take seriously. I cannot. Okay. Okay. Plaza is a very beautiful woman. I'm not saying anything bad about her or what she looks like, but these are not erotic scenes. They are okay. Are they meant to be erotic? I think they are meant to be both silly and erotic at the same time. Okay. My God. I'm now remembering a line. Okay. At one point, Wild Platinum says the words in relation to something, don't remember what, like, they are being anal about this. Whereas I, on the other hand, am oral, and she bends down to give Adam Driver a blowjob. Like, okay, that is actually a very good example for what I mean. That is supposed to be I think this is supposed to be a ridiculous line, but I also think it is supposed to be erotic. Of seeing Plaza go down on Adam Driver, going, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna suck his dick." It's simultaneously supposed to be funny and erotic. That is what I think. But I cannot see it as erotic, and I cannot see the joke. It is campy, but it's campy in a way that's like, oh my God, am I supposed to think of this scene as sexy in some way? And I think that is true for all of it. All of the sexual like scenes, I get that vibe from it, where it is both simultaneously supposed to be campy, and it is campy, but it's not for the reasons that I think is intended. It's a very complicated movie to talk about. There's so much happening. So much happening in this goddamn movie. Okay, I completely glossed over this. I gotta go back to it. I keep going to things and then realizing I have to go back to something else. There's so much happening in this goddamn movie. Okay, so after the Virgin Pledge, after she exposed not to be a child, not to be a virgin, the pop star makes a reinvention as this sort of 90s pop sex symbol, Britney Spears like character. And that happens for like less than a minute, probably less than 10 seconds to be honest. And that plot line is dropped, never to be seen again. And that whole sequence takes up a lot of the movie and is not really resolved. I don't think that is necessary to be resolved. People are going to be upset that it's not resolved, but I don't think that is required. I think that we are getting we're getting a lot of thematic stuff from that sequence that can be parsed relatively easily, but the form of the movie makes it very, very difficult to do that because of how quickly everything moves. Like, okay, so let's be charitable again. Let's be charitable. So I think the pop star, after being revealed that way, is like reintegrating herself into the. This is an anti-capitalist perspective. This is an anti-consumerist perspective, where there's a very, very 90s anti-consumerism, anti-selling out attitude that she never had a vision. She is just conforming to what the market expects of her, and that is seen as a bad thing. Okay. And I think this continues with Coppola's vision. As an artist, you should have a vision that you strongly believes in, and you will not stop no matter what. Okay. And on a very personal level, I do think this kind of works, but I don't think that anyone, I think that a majority of the audience is not going to read that scene that way. From a very communication perspective, Coppola is not communicating that idea. He is communicating confusion to the audience with the strange editing choices again in the very quick place where nothing is being explained. And okay, like the surrealism. I'm bringing up the surrealism again. This is a surreal film, but that sequence, there is nothing surreal happening within that sequence. That is all is very simply understood as being a diegetic part of the movie. This is what is happening. We can understand in that way. And the editing is very, the intent appears to be standard continuity editing. Things will change from place to place. We're not seeing like big changes across time. We're not seeing any jump cuts. We're not seeing any like fade-ins where it wouldn't make sense. There are a few fades in this, and there are very classical Hollywood filmmaking where a fade-in conveys a change in time and everything. It is a lot of the editing is just what can be understood as a failing of classical Hollywood editing from the 70s. Like you can compare this to like The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, and this appears to be attempting to do a similar thing. But the editing is so. The editing does not convey a visual for what you might expect. You'll see random cuts, characters reacting to things when we weren't expecting a reaction. Like if you're a conventional editor, seeing a reaction after someone is speaking or makes a big speech makes sense. But when that happens, we get a reaction to a character and their face is not conveying any kind of meaning to us. It is like, why are we seeing this character making this face after hearing another character speak? It just. And I think this is a failure of intent, a failure of communication. But again, there is something about it that I absolutely love. I love a random shot, just random changes in the editing that doesn't seem to make any sense. It's like, why is this here? It's like a meta mystery for me. It's like, why is this shot in this particular moment happening right now in this context? And it's like, why I'm having a visceral reaction to it. I'm feeling uncomfortable in a way that I do not think is intended, but I enjoy that feeling. It's like tasting some really disgusting cheese. It's like, oh, I'm eating this cheese and it's so, oh, it's gross, but there's something appealing about it. I like it. I love it. Oh. All right, while I'm on the subject, I need to talk about how fast the editing is and how that contributes to the experience of watching the movie. Because I really empathize with that. I really empathize with what a lot of audiences are saying about the movie, and I think that their perspective is absolutely understandable. But this one I just do not get. A lot of people are saying the movie is slow. I don't get it. There is so much happening in every single scene. The editing is breakneck. It's like we switch in between something new every few seconds. It's incredible. It's like there's always something happening and there's always some new event, and each event happens within the span of like 2 minutes. Like there's a section where basically everything is destroyed and everything changes, and that happens within the span of like 2-3 minutes, and then we're just moving past it. We're going somewhere new. I don't know how you can think that this movie is slow or boring. There's a lot you can say about Megalopolis, but it's not boring. It's not slow. It is 2.5 hours. And when that ending came, when I saw those credits, I was thinking, the movie's over? It feels like it's only been like an hour. Because so much has happened. It feels like something that should be more spread out. It's like you're seeing an entire trilogy of books happening within one movie. But also, it is moving so quickly that it feels like barely any time is passing. I am always fascinated by something that is happening on screen. I am on the edge of my seat, wanting to know what is going to happen next. How is this going to continue? What does this mean? And that really shapes my experience, I guess. Maybe a lot of people just are finding themselves unable to engage with it, unable or unwilling, and that they are just watching things happen on a screen for a long time and they can't get anything out of it. That's probably it. But this is not a boring movie. I'm gonna rewatch this movie so many times. Not in theaters. Not spending any more money on this. But I am gonna watch this again in the future. I need to. I need to hear the name WoW Platinum one more time, at the very least. Oh my god, there's so much happening. So much happening in this movie. Ugh. But I'm coming up on an hour now. I think I've talked about everything I've wanted to talk about regarding Megalopolis. Ugh. If I just know the second I turn this off, I'm gonna think of like 5 new things that are absolutely absurd that I need to talk to someone about. But this is my stopping point. I gotta stop. Do I recommend Megalopolis? Maybe. Will you like Megalopolis? Almost certainly no. If I recommend it, I am doing so because I want to put you in a weird situation. Like telling your friend, daring them to eat a bug. That's what I want you to do. I want you to eat that bug. I want you to watch Megalopolis. What a movie. Love it. Goodbye.